Cold water. No different than a dish best served cold. It's the same way. But it also acts as an understanding to a theory that individuals were posing. Now, you know there are people that are still saying that, yo, he's still in existence, things going on. Actually, what we're talking about, if you've ever read a Shakespearean play called Romeo and Juliet, you'd have an idea of what we're saying. Now, part of that was cold water is used in this cocktail that makes you seem like you're deceased in a sense of what's going on. Now, I mentioned this because this narrative was another one that was put out there. Oh, he's not really. And because the color of his lips, and we didn't see blood. But at the same time, there's nothing to prove this. We don't have an autopsy to show what was found. So we really can't say. So there's nothing that could be said about it except cold water. And here's how we're going to talk about it. Let's think of the entire interaction. If you think about it, cold water is fitting all the way around. Now, aside from the fact Florida is about beaches, water, how the ocean moves, even though it's salt water, it's water nonetheless, and individuals that are actually getting in the water, interacting with the water. We think of these things, and when we think of these things, they make us begin to look at other angles on how it works. I'm just binge watching some of these movies so I can catch up, because movies give you a lot of understanding too. Looking at the situation, looking at it from the movie perspective, even if we're looking at it as somebody who's a rapper, we look around at all the individuals. I'll probably get a copyright strike, a super one, regardless if I'm monetizing. But dealing with the situation, think of it in depth in terms of exactly how it played out. Young men that have known me at some point in time pull up at a store they magically know I'm at to do a robbery. That is what's being claimed around, even though the individuals are denying that that is the case. So let me ask you, what if they were enticed in some manner to show up to the store at Riva Motorsports? What if they never showed up to do anything of the sort? But dealing with the situation, somebody would have to have had other plans, because obviously they ran up to his car at the end of the day. Think about it. Now, I dropped a video that with Jussie Smollett singing "Tell the Truth," right? Think about it. Think about a small incident that occurred in Empire that we could take for understanding. If you look at the situation, to those of you that haven't watched, watch it. It's good. But ultimately, what I'm talking about, if you remember at the very beginning, and this won't ruin anybody who's trying to watch it, towards the beginning, the older brother actually had a conversation near individuals who he was saying would not, alluding to what no one would rob my brother with a $30,000 watch at a studio at such and such. And they ended up trying to actually rob him. If you think about that, what if a conversation occurred around them that led them to believe Tentacion not only was at a place at a certain time, but with something that they could retrieve? This would be easy to do to someone who has nothing. You could easily mention something like this and you'd make them go crazy. That's a heavy understanding to why they showed up. Now, when looking at it and examining it, who would be the one to break through the mold of this conversation? This leads me to this understanding. I believe it would be very beneficial for the baby mother to have some type of understanding of this situation. When you go to court, they're going in terms of thinking you know more than you've ever said. That's what it is. The series aside, everything aside, they're already suspecting something funny about you. Why? Because one of the suspects mentioned you, specifically asking if you were going to be involved somehow in being able to be interrogated, or could they interrogate you. That's not a normal request unless they thought you knew something. So let's look at the basis here. Cold water. There's one avenue where we could see that there was certain circumstances not going on normally with a violent crime of that nature. Then there's another ideology to take to it where we're thinking someone knew he was going to be there at that time and that something was going on. That's a heavy thought. So the question is, who knew and who could give it up? Now, it's no secret that you were with him as the baby mother, now that we know. At that time, you were one of the individuals with him before that happened. And we also heard about an argument or some disagreement going on between y'all. Now, where it gets a little crazier is that there's camera footage that they're currently looking at. Yes, camera footage on your whereabouts at that time. So the one thing I'm going to say is have your timeline right, because they were looking at exactly where you were, what you said or what was going on at that time that came out your mouth compared to when they see you on that camera. That's even worse, because if you're lying about that, even if you got, say you got nothing to hide and you lie about that, now you're instantly suspect for everything from top to bottom. A suspect mentioned you, number one. Number two, you lied about your whereabouts. Number three, this camera shows you doing something fishy. If those three things connect, your interrogation will be so serious. If they don't interrogate you because you're a lawyer, when you get to court, you got to be prepared, because the things they're really going to railroad you with is going to show that you're hiding something. They don't even need to know what you're hiding. If they sense you're hiding something, it turns into a whole new case. And that, I'm saying that because even if these suspects are guilty, if there's anything funny style about you, you're instantly in the case. One of the suspects were claiming to have known you. That makes it worse. They claim prior knowledge of you to that situation. And then we see them in many different pictures with Tentacion in the background. So that's clear connections. It's not speculation anymore. This is, I can connect that you knew them at some point in time because you were in the house at the same place. I don't even have to match you on the same day. You were at the same place at one given time, which means it's probable you could have ran into them. You could have spoke with them. This is the angle that any good prosecutor is going to take if they're really trying to get the truth out of you. So there you go. Another gift from me, even though you hate me. And I don't think that you hate me. You just don't like the narrative of questioning to figure out. I haven't figured out why. I don't know why you in particular don't. And I'm cool with the mother, and she's cool with it. But you in particular have done a lot behind the scenes I doubt she even knows about. I don't think she knows about your conversations, your interactions. I don't think so. She didn't even know you were going on that news channel to talk about it, did she? Let's be real, to the last minute. So this is just in all honesty. So what is it that's going on? Cold water. Sometimes you know that splash you do in your face to wake up to see exactly what's going on before you? Cold water. On that hot day when you're sweating profusely and you're trying to just get a breath of fresh air, that first sip of cold water. Cold water. Something that goes best with a hot dish if you're trying to stay healthy. Do you not like cold water? You like your water warm or lukewarm? Nah, cold water. Dog barked in that. I'm like, whoa. I thought the dog was barking inside. I'm like, cold water. Think about it. How could cold water have been utilized so very often and easily in this situation? How cold was the waters? Is Florida surrounded by cold water? Or is it not? Where do the lies begin and the truth end? Where does the truth begin and the lie end? Very interesting. Romeo and Juliet, a Shakespeare play. You want to know one thing that's very interesting even about the cold water thought? And yes, it must be cold water in order to get the chemical reaction. It has to be. Here's the craziest part. I'm not even talking to you guys about the images I'm receiving, the information I'm getting. Are these old pictures? I'm hoping they are. All rights reserved.